Hello students, today we will learn the features of data warehouse and data warehouses versus data marts. Data warehouse. What is a data warehouse? You have studied databases. So in the database we can store the data. We have the rows and columns. Similarly, data warehouse. In the data warehouse, we can store the data. But what is the difference between data warehouse and database? The data warehouse is a very large collection of data. So, in order to define, we can say data warehouse is a very large repository that house historical data. Also, we can say it is the collection of data in support of management's decision making process. So, in the data warehouse, historical data is saved, and this data can be analyzed by the managers to take decisions for their business. Also, the data stored in the warehouse is collected from the different data sources, and based upon this data collection, the different querying operations can be performed on it. To focus on the type of data stored in the data warehouse, it is a multidimensional database which is designed for querying and analysis purpose. So what is a data warehouse? It is a large collection of data and which is a historic data, and it is helpful for querying to the managers and enterprises for decision making. So, data warehouse is a logical collection of information which is collected from different data sources to support business and decision making activities. So, as we know that the data is collected from different or various data sources, so there is requirement of ETL operations before the data is saved in the data warehouse. So, what is ETL? Extract, transform, and load. So, the data collected from different data sources need to be operated for the extraction, transformation, and then it is loaded into the data warehouse. So the data is collected from different internal data sources. Also, it is collected from different external data sources. So we can call these as internal database and the external database. So once we have collected data from the internal databases and external databases, the ETL operation is performed. So through ETL, the data is extracted from the internal and external databases. It is then transformed into a format so that it can be having a single view or it can be understood at a single platform. Then loading. So after that, the data is loaded into the data warehouse, or we can call the data is stored in the data warehouse. Similarly, the data warehouse data can be transformed through ETL operations to the different data marts. For example, we have the inventory data mart or we have the sales data mart. So in this case, what is a data mart? So data mart is the subset of data warehouse. Store the data in the data mart. It is extracted from the data warehouse, then again it is transformed to the required format, for example relational database. So the data need to be transformed to the relational database and then it is loaded into the data mart. So this is how the data warehouse works. Now, focusing on the features of the data warehouse. There are very important features of data warehouse: subject oriented, integrated, and non volatile. Along with these features, also we have the historic data. Again, next feature is querying is done with both planned and ad hoc type of queries. So we have two types of queries: planned queries and ad hoc queries. Next feature, the number of multidimensional data marts. Optimized database for predefined queries. Now we focus on the subject oriented, integrated, and non volatile features of the data warehouse. The first, subject oriented. So the data is organized around subjects. For example, we have the product. So all the product details: product ID, product name, product price, product quantity. Another, orders, customers. So all these are the subjects. The data is organized around these subjects in the data warehouse. It also focuses on the analysis of data for managers and decision makers. It does not deal with daily operations or transactional data. So, the bank data or any kind of transactional data is not required in the data warehouse. Daily operations are not involved with the data warehouse operations. It gives data in summarized and simple form. The next feature of data warehouse is integrated. As we discussed, the data is collected from different data sources, and the different data sources contains the different kind of data. We call this data is heterogeneous. So it need to be integrated into a single form or into a single view so that it is possible, easily possible for querying operations. The data collected from different sources, and these different sources are maybe the flat files, the online transaction records, or relational databases. So in all these data sources, we have the different kinds of data and stored in using the different data structures. So there is need to integrate this data, and also one more operation is required is the data cleaning. The data collected may have some noise or may contain some noisy values, or maybe there are some missing values. So all need to be handled, and that is the data cleaning. And then after data cleaning, we have to integrate into a single view. So there is requirement of data integration, and this integration or data cleaning, these are required to ensure the consistency in the naming conventions. And the next feature is time variant. The operational data is collected over current data values. So transactional data comes under the operational data, as we know, whereas for the data warehouse, the time horizon is of longer time frame. So, in one hand, the operational data is handling day to day transactions data, whereas the data warehouse requires data which is stored for, say, 5 years or more than the 5 years. So, it requires longer time frame. It works on the historic data which is stored over 5 to 10 years. The time is very important factor while storing the data in the data warehouse. So this is the one of the important feature of data warehouse, time variant. Next feature is non-volatile. So, when the data is stored in the data warehouse, it should not be vanished. It is the crude meaning of non volatile. So, when the previous data is retained, the previous data is retained when new data added to data warehouse. That means even if you store the new data into the data warehouse, it should not affect the old data or previous data. The previous data should not be erased with the new one. As we know that the data stored in the data warehouse is the historic data. So it does not require the transaction processing, or it does not require the concurrency control mechanism, or it does not require the recovery mechanism, as we are not dealing with the operational data. So the operations required with this data warehouse, loading of the data and the access of data. The operational data placed in separate databases. Data collected from heterogeneous data sources needs data integration. The data cleaning and data consolidation is required. The next topic is data warehouses versus data marts. As here you can see, there is a central data warehouse and it is connected to the different data marts. Data mart 1, data mart 2, and so on. So, various data marts can be connected to the data warehouse. Data marts contain the subset of data warehouse data. Now we see the both contains multidimensional data. The data mart is a subset of data warehouse. The data warehouse is a large collection of data as we know. So its subset is divided into data marts. The data is collected from different internal databases and external databases, and it is transformed, loaded into the data warehouse through ETL. And the data from data warehouse can be transferred to the different data marts through again ETL. Let's differentiate. So the data warehouse are larger in size, whereas the data mart is smaller in size. So the capacity of data warehouse is more than the 100 GBs, while it is less than 100 GBs for the data mart. To differentiate, another point is the design. So as the data warehouse size is bigger, it is very difficult to design, and data mart is easier to design as compared to data warehouse. Another is type of data. So the data warehouse stores detailed data and the data is historic. On the other hand, data mart stores the short data not in very detailed form, or it is in the summarized form. As we know that the data mart is the subset of the data warehouse, and it stores a very small portion of the data warehouse. The data warehouse focuses on number of subject areas, or there are number of subjects involved with the data warehouse. On the other hand, data mart focuses on only one subject area. With the data warehouse, we know that the data is collected from various sources, so it requires the integration, data integration. Whereas data mart focuses on a single subject area, so it is not requiring the integration, or each subject in the data mart works independently. Next point of difference is flexibility. The data warehouse is more flexible. For example, if you want to extend your business, or The subject areas involved with the data warehouse get evolved or increased with the years. Then in that case, you need to increase the capacity of data warehouse, and you need to handle all the stuffs related to building and maintaining or operating the data warehouse. So it is flexible. Data warehouse is flexible and we can extend it easily. But on the other hand, the data mart is restrictive and it cannot be extended, as we are having the data mart at the small scale, or it is related to only one subject area. And the last point of comparison is on the maintenance. As we know, data warehouse is larger in size, so it requires more maintenance. On the other hand, data mart requires less maintenance. So this is the comparison between the data warehouse and data mart. Thank you.